everyone. I hope you're all doing really well. It's good to see a few of you in. We've got Free Money, William De Silva, Mark Dalton, Bouncing Betty. I've got a song of yours coming up tonight. MTL, RJ. Hey, great to see you, RJ. We've also got Marcy. Hey, Marcy, great to see you. Ian's Guitar Shack. Phil, BC Rich 581. Yes, that is an old photo of Vito. Dennis, hey. We've got Dennis Ben Coombs. Don't forget to check out his live show tonight at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard, unless he is at NAMM. We have got Glenn Bailey. Hello, brother. We got Jake Lee. Wow. We have also got Mississippi Blues, Adam D. It's great to see you all in. So tonight is about Vito Brata, one of my favourites. Oh, you're live with Aaron and JJ. Awesome. I will look forward to seeing that in the morning, Ben. Right, so Vito Brata, you can guess why he's one of my favourites, because he is in the ilk of Eddie Van Halen, and you know how much I love him. So it is a Vito Brata evening. He was with White Lion. And the saddest thing is, he gave up music almost entirely in 1991, which is a real shame. Hey, tall thing, Kev. Great to see you. Right, we are going to start with a little bit of a intro to Vito.
He was born in 1961. He formed White Lion in 1983 with Mike Tramp. He was 22 years old at the time. Before White Lion, he was in Dreamer from 1980 to 1983, a band that featured future Tiketo drummer Michael Clayton. White Lion came to be in the following way, as told by Mike Tramp in Rock Eyes. As I mentioned above, Mabel had turned into Studs and played hard rock. I had become the leader and we went to the States and became Lion. In November '82, we played L'Amours with Dreamer, which was Vito's band. People started talking that he and I should play together. When Lion ended its reign in December and went back to Denmark, I returned to NYC in March and looked up Vito. The rest is history. White Lion picked up a deal, got dropped, and then released the Fight to Survive album independently in 1985. It wasn't until 1987 that people noticed White Lion and the talents of Vito. The Pride album was massive. The tour that followed, opening up for AC/DC, was even bigger. It was 7 years playing in bands, before the world took notice of Vito's abilities. If any young guitarist or songwriter is looking to have a career in the music business, you need to be ready to put in the time. Don't be fooled by The Voice, Idol and X Factor. Those shows are all about ratings and the now. The term artist, career and longevity do not exist in these shows. The ones that end up making it, don't even win. Big Game followed in 1989 and Main Attraction in 1991. The label gave them a big advance for Main Attraction. White Lion delivered with a killer album. The label didn't know how to market it. An audience still existed for White Lion music. The hard rock or glam rock movement became a niche market, replacing the position that grunge held before it became the darling of the mainstream. So what does the label do? Market it against grunge. I never stopped listening to hard rock music in the 90s. To be honest, I hated the grunge movement, however it benefited me the most. I know it's a contradiction. How can something that I hate benefit me? Easy. Instead of spending money on new music, I started hunting out all the second-hand record shops and started picking up vinyl from the 70s and 80s rock music. I had a lot of money to spend, and spend it I did. I was a Guitar World, Guitar School, Guitar for the Practicing Musician, which then became Guitar and then Guitar One subscriber, So if I came across transcriptions in those magazines from the newer bands that was cool to play, I would check it out. Those magazines became my filter. Months after the main attraction release, Vito and Mike just called it quits. After sticking it out for so long, it was over. The band was already split, with James Lomenzo and Greg D'Angelo leaving to be replaced by Tommy Caradona and Jim DeGrasso. Mike Tramp continued with Freak of Nature. Vito, on the other hand, went home. He had enough. He spent his whole life to become a master virtuoso on the guitar. He spent his whole life perfecting his art. It brought him fame. When it came, he just walked away from it. He was 30 years old. Mike Tramp described the ending like this: "We never got a chance to say goodbye to the fans. We never got a chance to make a statement to the press. White Lion was playing the last show in Vito and I just went to the airport. I went to California and he went to New York, and we just said we didn't even look at each other. And it wasn't that we were fighting. And the interesting thing, people say, well, why shouldn't you carry on? But we got no call from the record company, no call from the managers, no call from the merchandising company. All these people were making millions of dollars off us. It's like we just disappeared. There was never any closing. So it's taken me many years to really understand what the f happened here." The below was from another interview that Mike Tramp gave on why White Lion ended on the famous interview website. Why couldn't you have done in White Lion what you're now doing as a solo artist? And why did White Lion have to break up? It's almost like I'm going to have to answer the last question first. Even though there's two people in there writing the songs, the 80s were a phenomenal decade. Unfortunately, most people wanted to be rock stars, instead of trying to build a longevity. That includes the manager and the record co. Nobody, after the first record succeeded, really was concerned about what the band was doing and where the band was heading. The concern was really how quickly can we get the next record out and how can we get on the next tour. As things like that happen, you start to get the negative things. The second record does not have the same numbers as the first. We don't have the same hit on the second one. By the time you get to the third album, the band is not the same band that started out in the basement of Brooklyn, New York. We've been influenced by money. We live in 4 different places. I live in California. Vito lives in Staten Island. And the other guys are scattered somewhere else. When we try to catch up on the third and final record, it becomes a rescue mission, instead of a true and honest record from a band. So much money is put into it, it's bound to fail. The record co. I think has basically let go of the band, because they have signed the next 2 follow-up bands to White Lion. And, at that time, there's no hope. Mike Tramp would not be able to make the decision and write the lyrics in 1988 when everything was 200 girls backstage between every show, big tour buses and big arenas. You write those lyrics when you sit in your little house, and the phone doesn't ring and no friends are coming around. You get into what I call my own little war room, where you create, and bring out your true feelings. Money is where the innocence ends and the arguments start. I believe Vito wanted to come back with a new band. Vito said in the Eddie Trunk interview that it was hard for him to write songs for another band that wasn't White Lion. Other interviews I had heard, showed Vito being not too happy about the music business and how the people around them were exploiting White Lion to make millions, while the band would make less than what their accountants made. Any chance of coming back took a back seat, as he became a carer for his parents. This time Vito couldn't just leave his home and tour, without knowing what he would be paid. With age, comes a different mindset. Priorities are different.
Yeah, so there we go. That's a little bit about Vito. And he was an incredible guitarist, not from Rat, but from White Lion. And he was a huge influence on me when I was back in the, must have been early 90s, I would say. Excuse my voice tonight. I have still got an absolutely terrible ulcer right here. Yeah, really is a bit of a pain, but there we go. Hopefully you can understand me. Talking Kev says, thinking if I've seen White Lion, but no, you were thinking of Great White. Not dissimilar bands. Yeah, Vito is absolutely an incredible guitar player. I love his playing. I'm just checking out your comments. Don't blame Vito for leaving. Well, no, he had to look after his parents. So there we go. Yet he was still living in his mum's house. Yeah, yeah, yeah. A nasty, nasty ulcer. Thanks, Terry. And thanks, LPD Pedals. Great to see you in, buddy. Really good to see you. I have been using the Cascade all the time. I absolutely love it. Right, I do want to give you a little bit of Bouncing Betty tonight because they have just released another single, and as always, this is a band that I truly, truly love. So let's check out their latest single.
You see, is it Hellview or is it really me? Since we both get along, you made a fool out of me. You try to change my life and everything you do, but I wanna be me, I am not like you. You try to change my mind, I realized that I was blind. It's time to get out of your cage, to get a distance to your face and free me from your big brown eyes. You fake and cheap disguise. Yes, you fake it. Hey, honey child, I'm in your honey trap. Since we both get along, you put a knife in my back, but your smile can't disguise that something's wrong inside you. Hey, pretty one, I am not your own. When we both kiss each other, it chills to the bone. It's time to change my mind. It's time to change my life. It's time to get out of your cage, to get a distance to your face and free me from your big brown eyes. You fake and cheap disguise. It's time to get out of your cage, to get a distance to your face and free me from your big brown eyes. It's time to get out of your cage, to get a distance to your face and free me from your big brown eyes. You fake and cheap disguise. Yes, you fake it.
So there we go. My buddies band. I just love Bouncing Betty. Everything they do is just absolutely awesome. Yeah, I'm surprised Henning doesn't have a part in this. Well, funnily enough, Tony works for Henning at all of the gear streets. I'm so looking forward to seeing him when we go back in August. So that'll be really great. Bit Bondesque. Wow, cool. A lot of people saying awesome, has a great beat. Thanks for the link. Yes, do go to Ben's link up here and give them a sub because they are an absolutely incredible band. Jake Lee says, great band, just subs. And hit the bell. You're most welcome, my brother. I love your stuff and I love you too. Awesome, cool stuff. Subscribed. That's great, really great. So, let's go back to Vito. I think actually that I have managed to repeat a video tonight. I'm not sure that I'm going to play it because I'm pretty sure I did a PJD guitar before. Well, we'll check it out. I tell you, we will. But I have got some more from PJD tonight, from Gear Street number 3, and it should be good. Let me see. Oh, wow. Vito should team up with Diamond Dave and Michael Anthony. That would be a great idea. I'm not sure he can play the same anymore. Oh, Doug, thank you so much. Let me give you one of these. Never courted, but always very, very much appreciated. Thank you, Doug Santanello. Really kind. Wow, yeah. Bouncing Betty, the UK tour. Bless you. Hopefully, we'll get to see each other in August. Yeah, good idea. How about coming over and doing a tour in the UK, guys? There we go. Bouncing Betty, great song. Absolutely love it. There you go. You've got fans over here. Yeah, there you go. So try and come over. It would be really, really great. Okay, so we have a decision for you tonight. I have got Michael Wagner will come out of retirement for Vito Brata. I have got a Soldano demo if you'd like to hear what I have recorded. Vito Brata is the second Van Halen, or White Lion, the band that was allowed to die. Let me know. I will play the first thing that comes up. If they want to come over, I can get them at least one gig. There you go. Not to be Captain Obvious, but Germany has spawned some great musicians. Yes. Okay. Jake Lee's in first, and I will show you the Soldano. Okay, brother, no problem. Okay. This is my little track because I was struggling to play when I did the demo of the Soldano, and this one I really enjoy doing. Here we go. So there we go, a little bit more of the Soldano. And if you are a patron, you can have the backing track for that because it is up right now. So I hope you like it. Yeah, I decided I'd go for the harmony guitars. Thank you for that. I really love twin leads. Thank you very much. I'm not creative. Thank you, Jake. Bless you. Thank you, Glenn. Really kind. Thank you, Doug. Brilliant. Thank you, Ian. And thank you, Trevor. It is an incredible little amp. It really does blow my socks off. It's sitting there on top of the angle, and both those amps I just love playing through. Grumpy Mike wants one. I'm not surprised. Thank you, Marty. Bless you. You're going to write a bass line. Actually, if you would like to, I will send you the track without the bass on it. My bass playing on that was pretty much pedaling the A the whole time. So that would be great. Oh, thank you. Also, very, very kind. Yes, they really do take pedals very well. I've been putting the Cascade through it and it sounds great. They are $299 US, so I guess there are about £250. I would sort of guess at. So yeah, I really enjoyed doing that, and they are great amps. Right, what would you like to hear next? Michael Wagner, Vito being the second Eddie Van Halen, or White Lion, the band that were allowed to die? Let me know. Oh, bless you, Dennis. That's really kind. Yeah, Cascade. Jake came over and I did a demo with him, and he really loved it with the Cascade in the effects loop. Okie dokie, Johnny's there. We will go for Eddie. Vito EVH. Okay, guys. Let's find it.
When 1980s hair metal band White Lion released the video for their breakthrough hit, Wait, in 1987, guitar fans saw arguably the second coming of Eddie Van Halen. Guitarist Vito Brata brought forth tasty rhythm guitar parts, masterly single-note technique, and above all, a two-hand tapping technique that, while in the style of Van Halen, found a new direction and thus provided Brata with his own identity. Born in Staten Island, New York in 1961, Brata took up the guitar at the age of 12. 5 years later, he heard Van Halen, and it changed his world forever. Prior to joining White Lion, Brata played in a New York band called Dreamer, where he earned the respectful nickname, Vito Van Halen, for his own amazing tapping technique. In 1983, Brata teamed up with Danish singer Mike Tramp and formed White Lion, releasing their debut album, Fight to Survive, 1985, on Grand Slam Records. After several personnel changes in their rhythm section, the band signed a major label deal with Atlantic Records in 1987 and released Pride. The single, Wait, exploded on MTV, and White Lion was quickly thrust into the spotlight. But their biggest success would come more than a year after the album's release, when the tender acoustic ballad, When the Children Cry, would take the band to the top of the hair metal genre. For Brata, the exposure brought well-deserved recognition for his instrumental prowess. He also received critical acclaim as a guitarist whose playing had substance and direction in an era of Guitar Wars repetitiveness. He further set himself apart via his preference for a Steinberger guitar, while his contemporaries remained primarily in the Charvel, BC, Rich and Kramer camps. The band's follow-up album, Big Game, 1989, while a commercial success, didn't measure up to the expectations set by Pride. They released one more album, Main Attraction, 1991, before caving in to the onrushing winds of grunge music in 1992. In 1995, Bratta decided to take a break from the instrument he had played every day since the age of 12, finally picking it up again in 1997, only to experience a wrist injury that would prevent him from playing again for several years.
Yeah, so there we go. Vito was known as the second Eddie Van Halen because of his penchant for playing a lot of the same style. He was an amazing tapper. Ian says, "What's MTV?" Love it. Yeah, so he really was a great guitar player. If you haven't heard White Lion, I strongly recommend you go and check them out. Let me know in the comments if you have heard of White Lion or if you've heard any of their music, because they were for about, at least 3 years, they were my favourite band. And that's why I've decided to do a Vito Brata tribute tonight, because he was quite an incredible guitar player. I've got an injury that stops me from playing. The world is glad. I'm sure it's not, mate. I'm sure it's not. Well, not often someone drops a penchant into a conversation. Well, that's me, I'm afraid. I do like to use big words sometimes. Oh, wow. Cool, Calvin. Been listening to them since seeing them on MTV in the 80s. Oh, Grumpy Mike, bless you, brother, for the wellness, stroke, tone jar, and why not? As always, thanks for all your work you do to create good content. Cheers. Love you, brother. Let me give you one of these. Never courted, but always very, very much appreciated. Thank you, Grumpy Mike. You rock. And I've been watching some of your videos recently and really enjoying them. If you haven't subbed to Grumpy Mike, get on over there and sub. He is great. Calvin says the guitar playing on all the albums are great. They are. Love it, don't stop. Okay, Marty, I'll try and think of some more big words for you. Oh, don't worry about being late, Ben. It's great you're here. I remember the 80s. Kind of do remember the band, especially White Lion. They were amazing. Yeah, absolutely. Oh, John Pearson, thank you so much. I thought he kind of looked like EVH when White Lion came out. Got to head out early for granddaughter's birthday. Until next week. Bye from Nashville. Well, a very, very happy birthday to your granddaughter. And I hope you have a really great time with her. Give her my love and regards. Cheers, brother. And I'm going to give you one of these. Never courted, but always, always very, very much appreciated. Thank you, John, so much. Daz is late again. Well, we're halfway through, my friend. In fact, it might be shorter tonight because I deliberately did less videos so we can get through it in the hour. Thanks, Mike. Check us in the mail. No, you are great. So anyone that hasn't subbed to Grumpy Mike, go and check him out. He is great. Hey, Mr. Lindsay McDonald. Good evening. You weren't even born then. No, I can imagine that, Tony. Totally. Right. We have 2 more videos and 1 from Gear Street. So, do you want Michael Wagner will come out of retirement for Vito, or White Lion, the band that was allowed to die? Let me know. I will take the first one. Yeah, he's a good guy. Okay, Grumpy Mike has got it. We will do White Lion, the band that was allowed to die.
The sad story of White Lion, the band that was allowed to die. In the late 80s, with their live shows and second album Punching Hard, the rock press fighting their corner and the band gathering momentum, White Lion's future looked bright. But it soon dimmed. When White Lion arrived in London in January 1988 to play their first ever European shows, the New York band seemed to have the world at their feet, and their incendiary second album, Pride, had set the rock press in a right old tiz. If White Lion didn't exist, we'd have to invent them, Derek Oliver purred in his 5 out of 5 review in Kerrang!, adding that Vito Brata, the band's guitar whiz kid, was probably better than Eddie Van Halen himself, and Danish-born frontman Mike Tramp was blessed with a far better voice than David Lee Roth. Over the band's 3-night residency at London's Marquee Club, some claim that White Lion outperformed Guns N' Roses, who had blown hot and cold on the same stage the previous summer. After the European dates, Tramp, Bratta, bassist James Lomenzo and drummer Greg D'Angelo flew back to the US, where they then toured with Aerosmith, Ozzy Osbourne and AC/DC. Thanks in a big way to the support of MTV, who got behind the singles from the album, Wait, Tell Me and The Plaintive When the Children Cry, Pride went on to sell 2 million copies in the US alone. And yet within 5 years this lion was extinct. Stranger still, following the group's hasty dissolution, the music world heard nothing further from the extremely talented Bratta. How the ball was dropped from a position of such strength isn't simple to explain. Yes, like many others, White Lion suffered from the rise of grunge. But what's really astonishing is the complete lack of support they received from their record label and management, not to mention the way the self-coined Little Fighters appeared to just give up and collapse like a house of cards. Nobody went in to bat for White Lion when we needed them most, Tramp sighs now. And because of that the band was allowed to die. It's early 1987. Somewhere in the empty L'Amour nightclub in New York City, a phone rings incessantly during a White Lion rehearsal. Given that the band's managers George and Michael Parenti also co-own the building, most incoming calls are business-related. To this day, Mike Tramp has no idea what compelled him to jump off the stage and pick up the receiver. I had only done so once before, and the voice on the other end of the line was Kelv Hellraiser, of UK-based magazine Metal Forces, which led to White Lion's first exposure in Europe, the singer says. The second time it happened, producer Michael Wagner told me that even though we didn't have a label deal, he was taking us to his studio in Los Angeles to make a record. In early '87, White Lion needed another break, and fast. Their debut album, Fight to Survive, had been recorded for Elektra Records, who shelved it but returned the rights to the band, leading to a deal with US indie label Grand Slam. Several bassists and drummers came and went, although the band's success in Japan was enough to nurture the faith of mainstays Tramp and Bratta. The band then made a version of Pride which they themselves scrapped. When management heard that Atlantic A&R scout Jason Flom was headed to Florida to check out a band called Mannequin, at a show at which White Lion were the support, they sent Flom a limo with a fully stocked bar. The move paid off. The way Tramp tells things, Flom didn't even watch the headliners, but fell in love with White Lion and agreed to sign them, and then forgot all about it. It's a true story, Tramp insists. Back then, Jason was at a time in his life when he was drinking and taking drugs. He gets completely plastered, returns to New York and checks into rehab. When he came out, our Italian-American managers had to remind him about the offer. Wagoner had already worked with Great White, and also Dokken and Stryper, and would become one of the decade's biggest production names. An original guitarist with German metalheads accept, he brought a musician's perspective to the studio. Michael became the fifth member of White Lion, Tramp recalls. The air of simpatico was a bedrock element to Pride, which still sizzles with flamboyant, virtuoso musicianship and swaggering self-confidence. All of Vito's guitar solos were songs in themselves, Tramp says. Pride was our live set at that point, he continues, and as those songs were laid down there were no arguments or debates, just smiles. In a strange coincidence, Pride was released on June 21, 1987, the same day as Gunnar's Appetite for Destruction. We were like two race cars lined up at the starter's gun, Tramp says, chuckling at the memory. And although Guns N' Roses eventually won the race, for a time things were neck and neck. The review in Kerrang! Said Pride was the most essential melodic hard rock purchase in years. But progress remained slow, despite a North American tour with Ace Frehley and Y&T. Tramp admits now that, our management came close to giving up on the band. A chink of daylight emerged when a radio station in Minnesota started to play the album's first single, Wait. Then a station in San Diego picked up on it. Gradually, more followed suit. With MTV it took intervention from Tramp himself to secure heavy rotation for Wait. The video had already been around for 7 months, but now that the song was big on the radio I picked up the phone and managed to get through to somebody who agreed the situation was unfair, he recalls. The following week we began to climb. Why hadn't the record company done that? Wait took White Lion into the US top 10, but follow-up single Tell Me stalled at number 58. It took When the Children Cry, a politically inspired ballad with lyrics Tramp wrote after watching Live Aid, to return the group to the chart's upper reaches, in this case number 3, and to prove that they could offer something out of the ordinary. This was a protest song in the days of hair metal. I still find it hard to believe that a kid from Denmark sang about there being no more US presidents, and the ending of all wars, Tramp marvels. The truth is that I always found it difficult to write about sex or innuendo. Although I got close with a couple of my songs. Tramp still finds it difficult to believe that, as he discovered in recent years, Atlantic actually opposed releasing Children as a single. Our managers had to threaten bringing all their wise guy friends from Brooklyn to make it happen, he jokes. Gradually, things fell into place for White Lion. The band's 3 gigs at the Marquee were sell-outs, and are rightly regarded as being on a par with early UK visits from Twisted Sister, Y&T, The Rods and Anvil. In London I shared a hotel room with my manager, who in the middle of the night shouted excitedly, "Oh my god, we got it." We had been confirmed for a tour with Aerosmith, Tramp remembers. And a week into that tour we learned that 2 days after it finished we would begin 3 months with AC/DC. I couldn't name one single hour on those 2 tours that I didn't enjoy. We had worried about booing from AC/DC's fans, but each night 25,000 Bic lighters would go up in the air. Going out again with Kiss, who were promoting Crazy Nights, was a little less satisfying. We were on the worst tour Kiss ever had, says Tramp. But as the support band we continued to go down well, so that didn't really affect us. Pin-up looks notwithstanding, White Lion had an image problem, they were just 4 ordinary guys. The group even summoned their publicists and lawyers for what ended up being a fruitless meeting to cook up some kind of cool rock and roll press stunt. While our rivals were overdosing or driving cars into swimming pools, we were like, who ate my slice of pizza? Tramp says, laughing. That had a lot to do with the story of our band. With 2 million US sales, Pride peaked at number 11 on the Billboard chart. White Lion could, and should, have gone on to bigger things. But Tramp admits they were burned out from the road. Worse still, he and Bratta had begun drifting apart. With their label pushing them for a rapid follow-up, within days of coming off the road the pair found themselves at a motel in Palm Springs writing their next record. Only this time there was an added pressure, hit singles. Atlantic Strong armed them into including a cover of Golden Earring's 1973 hit Radar Love. That next album, Big Game, went gold in June 1989, but all 4 singles from it, including Radar Love, stiffed. In those days, reviews in print could make or break a band, and Tramp still considers Kerrang's damning 1 out of 5 assessment of Big Game. This is the lamest, most pussy record I've heard in a long time, to be as significant as the plaudits they had received for Pride. He admits that he began to lose the plot, and recalls being backstage at Wembley Arena when White Lion were the meat in a sandwich featuring Motley Crue and Skid Row in November '89. I told a journalist from the Melody Maker that we were more like the Beatles than those two bands, he says, laughing. What was I thinking? Their fourth album, Main Attraction, released in 1991, was an improvement on its predecessor, but by then strong winds of change were about to start blowing in from Seattle. The writing was on the wall when Atlantic forced them to re-record the first album's Broken Heart, and then slammed down the shutters. I went to see Atlantic president Doug Morris when nobody from Atlantic came to our show in New York, Tramp says. To get into the office I had to pretend I was Sebastian Bach, by then I already knew there was a new kid in town. At the tour's conclusion in Boston 4 days later, Tramp, still reeling from the latest rejection, told Bratta, "Tonight is the final White Lion show," and was then taken aback by the guitarist's casual response, "Okay." 29 years later, Tramp is now sanguine. "In all our times together, Vito and I didn't have a single argument," he states. "The problem was that we were very different people, with no friendship outside of the band. White Lion could have had a future. All we needed was to take a break and regroup, get a new haircut and catch our breath." Tramp wasted little time in forming Freak of Nature, intended as the band of close-knit brothers he had always wanted White Lion to be. But 2 albums was all they managed. Meanwhile, Bratta dropped off the radar completely. In what little contact that followed between the two men, their relationship was tense. The guitarist was angered by the singer's new millennial attempt to reprise the band without him as Tramp's White Lion. In 2008 Tramp released the album Return of the Pride, billed as a White Lion record but with no input from Bratta. It was too much for Vito, who, in his first interview in 15 years, revealed to broadcaster Eddie Trunk that after White Lion he'd spent half a decade helping his mother care for his terminally ill father, and after that suffered a hand injury that severely impaired his guitar playing. A decade on, the condition of his hand had improved a little, but he remained unsure how much of his ability would return. "I've never said no to a White Lion reunion," he told Trunk. "But it's like a girlfriend that you break up with who says, 'If you don't get back with me, this is what I'll keep doing.' The more she cheats, the more you're not going to get back with her. I have to keep watching this stuff. I wish Mike luck, but the more he does it the less I want to be a part of it." Relations between Tramp and Bratta, who declined to be interviewed for this story, are now better than they have been for years, although a renewal of their partnership still remains extremely unlikely. For Vito, the continued stonewalling is his way of dealing with a situation that has no real solution, the singer says. Tramp continues to record new music and tour. His 12th and latest solo record, Second Time Around, plows an observational singer-songwriter furrow. A planned tour of all White Lion material has been delayed by COVID-19. "I turned 60 in January. It took some time, but I'm at peace with what happened. And I still love those songs, so long as I don't have to reproduce the 1988 versions," he explains. "Performing them the way I do now feels completely natural."
Yeah, so there we go. The band that was allowed to die, which is a real shame because they were so good. And I'm seeing a lot of you guys saying how good they were and what a virtuoso Vito was. Now, I was incredibly lucky that I got to see White Lion at the Town and Country Club in London. And I really, really enjoyed watching them play. They were absolutely on fire and a great, great band. I really wish that they continued and put out a lot more work because I'm absolutely sure that their follow-up albums would have been really good. Vito was such a virtuosic player. He could play anything. And the thing for me about Vito was that his melody lines were so catchy. Everything he played. So if you haven't checked him out, check out White Lion because you will love the rhythm work, and his lead solos were absolutely amazing. Right, I'm going to play you the last one and then we will check out the Gear Street video. If I can do this.
Record producer Michael Wagoner said he would come out of retirement in a second to work with former White Lion guitarist Vito Brata again. "I wish the world would hear from him again and I would come out of retirement in a second to work with Vito," Wagoner admitted during an appearance on the Decibel Geek podcast. "We've talked and I've heard his side. And I do understand his side about it. It's just sad that such a talent is, all of a sudden, gone, but I do understand. But, he was, like, one of the very, very top guys." Wagoner announced his retirement from music in April 2021, saying on Facebook that his studio has been sold and except for some guitars, amps and minimal studio gear there is not much left here. Across his 50-year career, the producer's long list of credits included Skid Row's first 2 albums, Metallica's Master of Puppets, Motley Crue's Too Fast for Love, Ozzy Osbourne's No More Tears, Warrant's Dog Eat Dog, Poison's Look What the Cat Dragged In, Extreme's Pornograffiti and Alice Cooper's Constrictor. Also on that list, White Lion's 1987 album Pride. The LP peaked at number 11 on the Billboard 200 and included the top 10 hits, Wait, and When the Children Cry. Bratta was considered a guitar sensation during the band's prime years, earning comparisons to some of the biggest axe wielders of the era. White Lion lead singer Mike Tramp said, "All of Vito's guitar solos were songs in themselves, and on the album Pride, those songs were laid down, there were no arguments or debates, just smiles." While Wagoner's decision to step away from music has been clearly explained, Bratta's has been shrouded in mystery. Rumors circulated that the musician suffered a wrist injury in 1997, but he didn't confirm that as true until 10 years later. "The actual injury I had, when I was touching the steel strings, it would feel like I was touching a live wire, like I was having electrical shocks," Bratta revealed to radio host Eddie Trunk in 2007. "And the doctors basically told me, listen, it's 50-50. You could lose the use of your hand, or you could be cured." Bratta has remained out of the spotlight since those statements, though Trunk did give an update on the rocker in 2019. "Nothing happened to Vito Brata," the radio host tweeted. "He's alive and well. Saved his money and left the music business completely in 1991. As simple as that. Some people not lifers. Tramp is. Vito not so much."
Okay, I hope you enjoyed all of my little tributes to Vito Brata. If you want to, you can watch them all again on my second channel, which is CGS Live. I have one more video to show you, and I think it is, I'm going to have to dive in pretty quick because I'm not sure we've got enough time. There are people who can walk away or just step back. Yeah, you're right. And Vito did that. It was mainly to look after his ailing parents, and you have to give him credit for that. What a great guy. So, okay, I'm going to show you my PJD guitar. If I have shown this before, I think I've edited it differently, so let me know. Hey guys, and welcome back to Gear Street number 3, and I'm delighted to bring you another guitar from the show this year. And this brand, PJD, have impressed all of us. In fact, this very guitar is Kafir Oshen's favourite guitar. Let's see if it appears on his channel at any point. In fact, I know it will because I've taken some video myself while he was doing an Instagram post with it. This is a beautiful black guitar, and if you look, it's got a beautiful grain in it as well as this F-hole. These guitars, I love the flat top on LP style guitars.
Very, very basic, single volume, single tone control. And you've got a 3-way switch just for the humbucker in the bridge position, and this beautiful P90 in the neck, and of course the middle position for both, as you would expect. This guitar plays like a dream. This has got quite a nice satin style neck. It feels a little bit like a relic finish in that all of the fret ends are beautifully rounded, and the neck feels a little bit played in. I love these square inlays on the neck as well. Hopefully you can see that in the video. The guitar is incredibly stable. It is a string through, so you can see the ferrules on the back, and also it's got this little curved neck joint, which again gives you a good access up to the high frets. I love the design of the headstock. It's very reminiscent of a Telecaster, but not the same. And I think the Tele headstock style on this flat LP style body is a really nice aesthetic. Let me know in the comments what you thought about the tones, and also whether you think this guitar is something that you would like to play. I thoroughly enjoyed it. So in terms of playability, as I said, the access up to the top frets was pretty easy and no problem at all, but it's also got a nice chunky neck, which, as you know, I really quite like. These guitars have really impressed every YouTuber here, and I don't think there's been one that hasn't said, wow, have you checked out this black PJD guitar? As I said, it was Kafia's favourite guitar of the show. And I can see why. Let me know in the comment section down below what you guys think, and also what you thought about the tones. I've got tons and tons more videos to come from 42 Gear Street number 3, but in the meantime, you take good care.
So there we go. And what have I done tonight? I've timed it just right. We're at 56 minutes. I always promise you that I will do between half an hour and an hour. So pretty good. Who's getting a rub down? I'm not sure. That was Glenn this time. Bellingham Harp in Cambridge tonight. Awesome. So if you're in Cambridge, pop and see Talking Kev. Definitely check out Ben Coombs, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard. Great show as always. And my brother Aaron is on with him and JJ's House of Jams. That will be great. I'll watch that in the morning. You're all loving the background, aren't you? Great Sunday show. Thank you. That is so kind, brother. Really appreciate it. Thank you, Grumpy Mike. Thank you, Ben Coombs. And Grandpa Joe. Everyone have a safe week. I'm sure Dale might be in at the end. Here's a link to Ben's show. Thank you, Ben. And thank you so much for modding for me tonight. Great as ever. Lovely, lovely comments. Thank you so much. I absolutely love seeing all your comments. And all it remains for me to say, oh, Marty, don't forget to send me an email and I'll send you that track without bass on it. Okay, guys, thank you so much. Okie dokie, all that remains for me to say, oh, there he is, Dale at the end. I love it. Okay, guys, thank you so much, as always, for watching. Love you all. Hope you'll be tuning in next week as well. And I'll see you in videos between now and then. In the meantime, you guys take good care.